In the year 2050, a holographic virtual reality game called Gods appeared and became a sensation. At first, everyone thought it was just a game, until a player discovered that the abilities in the game could be integrated into reality. This game became the path for mortals to become gods. And at the peak of the gods' ascension, our protagonist is completely worn out, saying, "In this battle against the gods, if I lost, no one can win." The god says to him, "Mortal, are you crazy? This is not a game." He agrees and says he knows it's not a game, but still he has no regrets. And then he takes a blow from the god, a crystal in the middle of his forehead, an explosion, and that's it. He suddenly wakes up in front of his computer, where an announcement is displayed. The virtual reality game Gods will be released soon. He wonders, Gods? Release? What's going on? He looks at his hand and realizes, I was reborn. Then hears a noise behind him and turns around, startled. It's a girl saying, Yan Chen, what are you doing? I've been knocking on your door for a while. Do you still want this? It's his neighbor, Xia Ru. Damn, Xia Ru, I would be bad in the game if you were my neighbor. His eyes shine and he quickly agrees, saying he wants what she brought. Despite all the problems he went through in that game, he can't wait to get back. She places the box beside him and looks at the screen, where there's a cat girl. The neighbor says to him, I'm in front of you and you're just looking at this game. And the cat girl on the screen is making an announcement. While you wait for the launch of Gods, I'll do a little dance for you, so send gifts. The neighbor says, now I understand why you're ignoring me. Do you like this game? The protagonist gets a bit embarrassed and says, no, Ru, I like more charming and slightly older women. She then leans in and says, am I mature enough for you? The protagonist thinks that if she wore black pants, no one would resist. She then replies, take care of your health, now you can go back to playing, and turns his face back to the screen. The protagonist, staring at the helmet, thinks Ru Gods is not just a game. The cat girl then announces the launch of Gods will begin in a few seconds. Let's start the countdown. A screen shows biological information being verified and the character being created. Everyone who enters the game receives a random talent. In the protagonist's previous life, he had a rare talent. But the system analyzes his energies there and he gains the yin-yang talent. He then gets a bit confused, wondering about the yin-yang talent as he's never heard of this talent before. The system explains that the yin-yang inversion talent makes any ability he has caused its opposite effect. The protagonist starts analyzing, if it's the opposite effect, then if I use a damage ability, it will become a healing ability. How will I play like this? And then he has an idea. The system informs, please choose one of your professions. He then chooses the healer class. Considering that he has the power of inversion, if he inverts the healing, he will deal damage. The system asks for a name for the character and he chooses Jiang Shen, which in Chinese means the mortal who kills gods. The protagonist is transported to the starting village and is player number 1001, where several beginners are gathered, all impressed with the quality of that virtual world and wondering where the monsters are to hunt. The protagonist already knows how everything works, so he is only concerned with this yin-yang talent. Just like in his past life, he starts with 10 status points in each attribute. Since he chose the healer, he has the healing ability. Obviously, it doesn't deal damage, but the amount of healing is equivalent to other damage classes. The system then informs that this skill can be modified by the yin-yang talent and inverted. However, inverted talents have their potential increased by 50% at level 1 and 100% at level 10. The best part is that this healing ability also doesn't use much mana. He then inverts immediately using the system, and then receives the inverted healing spell that will now reduce the life of the creatures by 30 plus 150% of his power. The protagonist, who is an experienced player, understands the game's values very well and knows that these numbers are high. Without considering that at level 10, it will increase by another 50%. And now he can't wait to meet the gods in Ascension. The first thing he has to do is farm incandescent horns. He knows that in an hour, an NPC will appear to give a special quest asking for these horns. And since no one knows this yet, he will be the first to get there and farm alone. In his past life, he received this information too late and ended up getting only a mediocre buff. But in this life, he wants to take first place. He quickly casts a healing spell on the creature running to attack him, dodges, casts another healing spell, and the creature falls dead. He has to use 4 healing spells to kill one creature, and considering the time it takes for the NPC to appear, he's sure he'll get enough. 2 hours later, the protagonist has killed 800 creatures and obtained 700 of these horns. In his view, this should be more than enough to get the maximum buff from the NPC, so it's time to turn in this quest. On the way, he passes by some guys who apparently were the first to hear about the quest. They're all excited, thinking they'll get a good buff. But one of them says it's not that easy to kill these creatures, using the protagonist as an example who just passed by them, with his head down and sad that he couldn't kill anything. Already in the city near this NPC, people are all wanting to form groups. A tank offering himself, another guy saying he'll accept any cute girl in his group, and a girl there using her charm to get a little group. The girl sees the protagonist walking by and notices that he's a healer and approaches saying, "Hi, aren't you looking for a warm little group?" He responds curtly that he doesn't like groups and walks away. The girl feels a bit sad, thinking she found a healer, and the guy was even cute. But then another girl comes asking him, and another girl. These girls don't stop wanting to join his group. A blonde tank arrives to ask too, and I'd say she's quite dense. She says to him, "Lovely healer, aren't you looking for a team? Join me, I can tank any monster." The protagonist is a bit annoyed, wondering why all these girls want to form a group with him, and responds that he doesn't want to. Then he says the most suspicious phrase of all, stating that he's not interested because he likes men. He then goes to the NPC to collect the horn buff. The NPC was about to give the quest about the horns, but he informs them that he has already brought them all, leaving the guy puzzled since the quest has just started. However, since it's done, he has nothing to complain about and says that the gods will bestow a favor, taking the horns and the protagonist completing the mission. He says that the gods will give a great blessing in this life, and the protagonist is curious about what you will get. A goddess speaks to him, "Child from another world, the gods see that you believe deeply in love. Congratulations, you'd have received the blessing of the god of love." He gets excited since he certainly gathered more horns than anyone else. Blessing of the god of love. When you form a group with people of the opposite sex, you will receive several buffs. 50% reduction in skill cooldown time, 50% reduction in mana cost, and it will also improve the quality of the items that are dropped. The effects also improve for each additional woman in your group, and if you reach maximum intimacy with a group member, the buffs improve even more. Knowing that he will be forced to team up, he asks if he can remove this buff and exchange it for another. This love goddess is more like a goddess of mischief. Not to mention that he just said he likes men to all the girls in the city. He then asks the goddess to remove the buff, but the guy just makes him run away, hitting him on the head with a wand. Unfortunately, there's no way to change it. Back where he refused the girls, he's thinking, "If I had known this, I wouldn't have refused all those women. Now where am I going to find one of them?" Looking around, he sees that very dense Mike girl. She apparently joined a group of some other guys, thinking that hunting monsters with a hottie by their side will be even better. She's there feeling awkward, wondering what to do now. But then a window pops up saying that the player Jiang Shen invited you to the team. However, since you're already in a group, you can't accept. She then thinks if it's that cute guy from before. When she looks back, she sees the protagonist waving. She turns to the guys and says, "Sorry, my friend arrived. Can you find someone else for your team?" And she leaves the guy's team. The protagonist realizes that she was in the group because he had sent the invite earlier. He thinks, if I had found her a little earlier, it would have worked out. Apparently, forming a group is going to be difficult. I'll go to the entrance of the village to see if I can find someone, or I'll end up just wasting time. But she comes and puts her hand on his shoulder and says, "Wait for me, kitty." It seems the protagonist is wonderful because all the girls are falling for him. And with that, her invitation to join the group arrives. He asks if she wasn't already in another group, and she replies that she left. Now, with her in the group, the system announces that the level 1 blessing of the god of love has been activated. The protagonist says, "Let's go. I'll take you to farm some monsters." The ex-teammates are obviously not happy about this, especially since she clung to the healer. One of them says, "I thought she was a different woman who didn't care about appearances." Apparently, she's shameless too. Already in the Green Plains, the girl is asking the protagonist, "Kitty, can't we farm some crimson horns?" He says it's too late and not worth it, and asks her to stop calling him Kitty. She then calls him Brother Jiang Shen and says there are no monsters here. He tells her to wait because they'll appear soon. Night falls and a level 5 wolf appears, making the knight feel insecure since the creatures are 3 levels above her, and says, "I'm a level 3 knight and you're a healer. Do you think we can handle it?" He tells her to relax and just enjoy the scenery while he handles everything. Using the healing spell, he deals 120 damage. Dodge minus 120 health. Seeing that, she is impressed, thinking he must be a professional. A level 5 mage's fireball deals about 30 to 40 damage. So how is this healer dealing over 100? Could you be using a hack? But she kind of dismisses it. This game was produced by many companies worldwide. There's no way to use hacks. And it's not just about the damage he's causing. How is he dodging these creatures so easily? Even other professionals in other virtual reality games aren't this good. She starts licking her lips, saying she will have to dry him out with a lot of heat. Imagining the adventure, Brother Jiang Shen, look at me. In the middle of this whole dream, a creature attacks her from behind and the protagonist warns her. She turns and manages to defend against the first attack in time. But the monster quickly attacks again, and she can't react, wondering how Jiang Shen is dodging so easily. The protagonist tells the crazy blonde not to get distracted. She's scared, asks why he's attracting so many monsters. He says he's doing it so she doesn't die. But the truth is, he only saved her because he doesn't want to lose the buff. She feels a bit embarrassed, apologizing for being a hindrance. But the protagonist is blunt and tells her to stop apologizing and stop getting distracted. Watching him dodge everything, she's completely lost. 15 minutes later, the protagonist has already managed to drop the staff he wanted. The item's quality is increased because he has a dense and friendly girl in his group. The protagonist thinks that this is enough for now. The girl is all happy, celebrating that she reached level 4. In the protagonist's system, an intimacy status is unlocked. He has already killed 57 creatures, and it shows 57 out of 10,000, so it's obvious. You'll have to kill 10,000 creatures while in the group with her to reach maximum intimacy. And upon reaching 10,000, things get quite steamy and wet. While Jiang Shen was thinking about how killing 10,000 creatures isn't easy, another monster appears. It's a level 5 boss wolf. Considering that at this point in the game, almost no one can kill a level 5 creature, imagine a level 5 boss. If he succeeds, he will probably be the first person to kill this creature, which should give him an achievement, making him excited. The problem is that with his current movement speed, he won't be able to dodge this creature. So he needs a plan for that. He turns to the blonde girl and says, "I'm going to pull the boss and take him away. When I give the signal, you activate the shield and pull them back. At least all this density should help absorb the impact on the shield." She needs to help the protagonist and stay calm. The protagonist then uses a healing spell to attract the creature. The wolf comes running like a madman, but its health barely decreases, and while the creature is mid-air, the protagonist has already cast 4 more healing spells on it. He then tells her to activate the shield and hold the beast. She pulls out her shield and tries to hold it, but takes a hit. The protagonist had explained to her exactly where the creature would attack, which is why she was in the perfect position, while he continues casting healing spells on the monster. But the bastard is still at 80% health and comes at him. He asks her to activate the shield again and keeps healing. Defended another healing spell, and they repeat this until the monster is dead. The system congratulates them for killing the mutant wolf. Being the first to kill it, they level up to level 7. Increases intimacy with her a little more, and she also goes up to level 5. The boss dropped a healer's robe, a dagger for assassins, and a book with a sealed skill. The protagonist is thrilled because this buff for getting higher quality items is very good. For now, he'll use this coat and sell the dagger for some money. As always, all the attributes he gained go to intelligence. The blonde asks the protagonist where they are going now. He says he's going to the village to take care of some business, and she could be free for a while. She also completed a quest to kill 50 random monsters and thinks, well, slowly I can catch up to him if I turn in this quest here. Maybe I'll reach his level. On the way back to the city, a group of guys from before were hunting. While Jiang Shen was hunting werewolves, the guys were still on chickens. One of them sees them and says, "Isn't that the night girl who left our team?" They recognize her and also notice it's the same healer and say, "It pisses me off just seeing that guy. What he has in looks, lacks in everything else. I'll show him what I'm capable of and she'll see that strength is everything." Suddenly, an arrow flies at the protagonist. He realizes it's an ambush. The dense girl is worried, but he just dodges it easily. She feels relieved, and the protagonist stares at the guys who say, "Looks like you got lucky dodging that." The blonde asks why they attacked Jiang Shen. However, they ignore her and ask, "Do you think our group is like a bathroom where you can come and go as you please? Since you're going back to the beginner village, let me help you." The mage says these two are asking to die and cast a fireball. The knight easily defends with her shield, but the protagonist gets excited, thinking he'll get some free items and says, "Since it's like that, I'll help you go straight home," and then uses a healing spell, and the guys are confused about what's happening. What kind of healer is this? Why is the healer dealing damage? Is he hacking? The protagonist, impatient, says he is cheating and attacks, telling them if they have a problem, just report him. Seeing the damage his friend took, the guy thinks if he takes that hit, he'll end up in debt. The protagonist says there's one left and asks how he wants to die. The guy starts begging, saying, "Why don't you just let me live here? We can meet in the future and be friends." But the protagonist says, "Relax, I'll be friends with the items you're going to give me," and casts another healing spell. The guy dies there, screaming that he can't die. "All my attributes will decrease by 1. And the worst part is if a group attacks and then dies to the ones they attacked, they forcibly drop their best item." The protagonist, staring at the items on the ground, thinks, "There really are many kind players in this world. I needed money to unlock my skill book, and they came here to deliver all this to me. I'm really moved." The knight blushes and says she'll turn in her quest. She then says goodbye and says they'll see each other later. As soon as she leaves, the buff deactivates, and he realizes he needs to increase the intimacy more. At the auction house, the protagonist went to do some shopping. He's there doing a bunch of calculations: 40 gold, 90 stones, 30 silver. In the end, the items dropped by the guys will be sold automatically at a fixed price, and the items he got from the boss will be put up for auction. Now, with the 8 gold and 91 silver he has, it's enough to unlock that skill book. The protagonist then arrives at the door where the mentor is. The emblem displayed there is the same as the resurrection skill that only high-level players can have. He enters and is greeted by a buff guy saying, "Hi adventurer, welcome to my hut of healing mentors. I'm your instructor, how can I help you?" The protagonist already realized that the guy is a bit crazy but says, "I need to unlock a skill book." The guy grabs the book and says, "Wow, it's a 2-star book with an incredible fragrance. But adventurer, to unlock this book, you'll need 5 gold coins." He puts the bag on the table, and the guy drools, saying he seems to be very good. Now the skill book is unlocked. The protagonist immediately recognizes it as a very good group healing skill. If he uses yin-yang, it will turn into an amazing area damage skill. The guy thanks him and says, "May the gods of healing be with you. Save many lives." Back in the city, the protagonist is waiting for the dense night, thinking that it's time for her to show up so they can go monster hunting. Next to the protagonist, there are 2 girls arguing. The taller girl is complaining to the shorter girl, telling her not to farm a certain place or she'll steal all the experience. The protagonist recognizes the short girl by name instantly as a certain Megumin from Walmart, and in his past life, she was the most powerful summoner there was. Here comes the protagonist wanting to add a little Lolita to the party. The taller girl is scolding her, saying, "Do you think just staying quiet with your head down will help you? Why aren't you saying anything? Do you think anyone will care about trash like you?" The protagonist steps in and says, "Who said that?" and extends his hand. "Megumin from Walmart, want to join my group?" The invitation arrives instantly. Confused, she asks, "Do you really want to group up with me?" He says yes and tells her he'll take her hunting, but she responds that she can't leave the beginner village right now because she doesn't want to be a burden to others. The girl next to her says he's lucky and it's good he won't take her. But the protagonist doesn't care and extends his hand to her, saying, "It's okay, I know how to handle various problems, so come with me." The girl next to her, getting pissed off, says, "Who do you think you are? As long as I'm here, Megumin isn't going with you, so stop wasting your time." But Megumin turns to the protagonist, tells him they should go, and accepts the group invite. The other girl angrily says she won't go and orders her to stay put. The protagonist then asks her to repeat what she said and heals a rabbit passing by. It immediately takes 225 damage, and the girl is shocked. "How are you dealing so much damage?" The protagonist then leaves with Megumin to find the blonde. The knight sees that this girl joined the group and is level 2 and wonders why he did that. But she decides not to say anything because she's just their stealing experience. Already clinging to the protagonist, she asks where they are going. He says they're going to the Black Mist Gorge, a place for level 6 to 10 monsters. Upon arrival, he says, "I'm going to hunt the monsters so you two find a spot and don't cause trouble." The protagonist reaches the creatures, uses his area skill, and destroys everything. Megumin is impressed and asks Kim Yin if she is Jiang Shen's girlfriend. How is he so amazing? She replies that at the moment they are not, but she would let him heal her all night. Megumin then asks why he is helping them. Kim Yin says she doesn't know why either, and Megumin wonders if he wants to be rewarded with a hip attack. But Kim Yin says that's unlikely because if he wanted that, it would have already happened. And she reminds her that he said he is gay and doesn't like women. Could he want to make a group full of women to hide this secret from everyone? Megumin says she understands everything now and that it's a very exciting plot. Apparently, she liked being part of this plan. She then checks the ranking of the highest level players and tells the protagonist that he's entered the level rankings. Curious, he continues killing creatures but wants to take a look. He opens the rankings and sees that he's in 9th place, a level 8 priest. He immediately recognizes a name at the top, Kim Chan, a level 10 warrior. And he thinks that it's the same as before, this guy is at the top of the rankings again. But he knows that Kim Chan is so rich that he just hires a bunch of people to farm creatures for him, and he just leeches off everyone's experience. The two girls feel a bit embarrassed, thinking they're stealing his experience, keeping him from the top spot. The protagonist tells them it's not their fault and says, "Just because we're not at the top now doesn't mean we won't be later." Megumin seems curious about something and points to a low-level dream fairy that can be tamed. The protagonist smiles because it's a type of possession pet that can even provide buffs, rarer to find than a boss. The two girls get excited, saying he should tame the fairy quickly. But he tells them not to rush because someone is coming. And the girl from before who was with Megumin appears. She's a mage and carries 2 large fire circles. She says she warned Megumin to stay in the beginner village, but now that she's left, she'll have to be killed. The knight wonders who that crazy girl it is. Megumin apologizes and says she'll leave the group to avoid causing trouble. But Jiang Shen says she's actually helping a lot since these people have come to deliver many items to them. The mage is furious, but her friend warns that Jiang Shen is one of the players in the ranking. However, they ignore the warning, thinking he's just a healer and won't be able to kill them, unless someone in his group is much stronger. Impatient, Jiang Shen tells them to come on because he wants to get back to leveling up. The mage says that if he wants it so badly, she'll teach him a lesson. And she tells the 3 guys with her, "I'll pay double for you, but let's kill this guy now." The guy in front doubts that group of 3 useless players will be able to do anything. Jiang Shen tells the knight, "Do the usual, just keep blocking with a shield." With that, a fireball is thrown. That's all the protagonist wanted. Now that the guys attacked first, if he kills them, he'll get their items. He uses the group healing spell, dealing 240 damage to everyone. The fools scream, not understanding what happened. Kim Yin and Megumin can't believe everyone is already dead. At the spawn point, the mage wonders what the hell that was. But the guy tells her to stop being stupid. He warned her it was dangerous to hunt someone at the top of the rankings. The assassin standing there says it doesn't make sense. Even if the priest is at the top of the ranking, he doesn't have damage-dealing skills. He thinks it must have been something the knight did. Back in the mountains, Jiang Shen is going to capture the creature. He explains that there are 2 ways to tame a pet. Either you use capture items or you go by luck. And by luck means taking on the taming challenge. He then heals the girl. Once the challenge begins, if he takes any damage, it's over immediately. To capture this fairy, he has to find the real one among the illusions. The problem is that his HP slowly decreases, so he has to find it before it reaches 0. However, he knows the challenge well, as each illusion follows a pattern of movement. Only the real one can move freely. He positions himself where he can observe all of them and notices that one is moving randomly. He moves to a spot where he can see them all and spots the real one. He uses a spell and voila, he successfully captures the dream fairy pet. When he wakes up, the girls ask what happened. He explains that he was trapped in an illusion doing the challenge. They ask if he succeeded and he says yes, then tries to activate the fairy. The ability he gets is a short-range teleport with a 5-minute cooldown. As soon as the pet integrates, a light appears on his forehead. The two girls are enchanted, thinking he's some kind of god. Seeing the integrated ability, he realizes the cooldown is halved thanks to the blessing of the god of love. This is a great start for him, as it will help him farm creatures much faster. He looks at the two girls and asks why they are staring at him. He says there's no experience on his face, so why do they keep staring? After a while, they return to farming, while he wonders why the two of them act so silly. However, they remain enamored. A while later, they drop a bow that can be sold for 50 gold. And suddenly, the level 9 boss appears. Megumin seems to understand the game very well, as she knows exactly what the creature does. She describes each of its abilities, leaving the protagonist impressed. He asks if she's faced it before, and she responds that of course she hasn't. She says she learned all this by reading the official guides. However, she warns him that to kill that creature he needs a warrior, but he isn't one. The Dense Knight says she can try to block with her shield. However, Megumin warns that the monster has some crowd control abilities. Seeing how smart she is, the protagonist now understands why she was the strongest summoner in his past life. However, he assures them he can handle it. The knight asks if he wants her to use the shield, but he says no, just stay in a safe place and don't attract any monsters. He says he'll deal with it alone, and Megumin is impressed, asking if he's sure he doesn't want any help. He says he's fine and climbs to a higher part of the region. With that, he starts casting healing spells on the monster. The boss activates a red ability, throwing dark chains, but he easily dodges them. Megumin is impressed that he can even dodge abilities. From up high, the protagonist continues attacking with healing spells. The boss pulls out a scythe and swings it toward him. Megumin warns him to be careful. The protagonist activates the fairy he captured and teleports out of the attack. His plan is simple. He'll keep dodging attacks and slowly wear it down. When the monster uses its precise ability, he'll use the teleport and escape. After 25 minutes of struggle, he manages to kill the boss. The two girls jump for joy. They level up, and everyone gains some points. He increases intimacy with both girls, and Xiao Tian is now at 225. He realizes it will be easy to reach maximum intimacy with both, as they are easy to deal with. The monster dropped an ice staff as a first kill reward, golden illusion boots, and a gold rank greatsword. Additionally, a recipe for crafting rare clothing. It seems Zhang isn't going to share anything with the two. He'll use the staff and boots, sell the sword at auction, and put the rest of the items in his shop. They'll keep the recipe for when cosmetics become more important and sell it to someone who needs it. He then looks at the two girls and asks if it would be good to call it a day. The knight says the day flew by, but they both agree to be available again tomorrow. Zhang says fine and tells them he'll see them tomorrow. Upon logging off, he's back in his room. The first thing he does is throw himself on the bed, thinking that tomorrow he needs to level up more. The next morning, the dense neighbor comes to talk to him. The protagonist even asks her to be more careful with the clothes she wears. Ironically, this gamer who never leaves his room has the physique of a bodybuilder. She then places her hand on his chest and says she brought some food, mentioning that she went for a run and thought of him. She asks how he's going to pay for that meal, insinuating something. However, he says he's respectable and will pay with money, not physical favors. The girl says he's quite the jokester and asks him which beginner village he started in yesterday in Gods. He says he started in 10,001. She sits in the chair looking sad, saying she also thought about playing but wanted the help of a pro player like him to guide her. She heard that you can make good money from it. The protagonist says that for now, 1 gold coin in the game is worth 75 Chinese coins, but soon it will be worth around 100. He asks if she isn't a fashion design graduate, already planning to give her the clothing recipe he got from the boss since for now, it's not worth selling. He tells her it would be great if she did the same thing in the game. Once she reaches level 10 and starts crafting a bunch of items, she can sell them to the maniacs who want to customize their characters and make some good money. She says it's a great idea that she's still at level 3. The protagonist reassures her, saying he'll send her a guide on how to reach level 10. But for now, he needs to get back to the game and tells her to do the same. He jokes that if she doesn't level up, he won't talk to her anymore. Now he realizes that he is one of the few players close to reaching level 10 since most are still at levels 2 or 3. He then puts on the helmet, confident that today he will reach level 10. Back in the game, Megumin messages him in the chat to let her know when he logs in. He replies, "See you at the village entrance in 5 minutes." The protagonist is happy that she logged in so early too. But before that, he needs to go to the auction house to see what's sold. He arrives and receives 1,125 gold coins. Considering the values he mentioned, the sly protagonist made a little over $10,000 overnight by selling the boss items. He then registers the greatsword as well, wondering how much this gold item will sell for. His friends are already waiting to go farming, so he heads over to them. The dense knight just woke up and is very sleepy. She played until 3 a.m. trying to catch up to Jiang Shen, but she's exhausted, saying she'll look ugly if she doesn't get her beauty sleep soon. Megumin then says there was an update to the game's encyclopedia, revealing a bunch of monsters she didn't know about. She mentions that all the players who reached level 10 are stuck in the ancient shadow realm. The knight is curious and asks what this realm is. Megumin explains that it's the first dungeon, and that for players to leave the beginner village and move to the main city, they need to complete this dungeon. The protagonist knows that in his past life, today will be the first time it's completed at midnight. However, he doesn't plan to let that happen, and that's why he woke up so early. So he turns to the 2 girls and tells them they'll be hunting even more. To succeed, he needs both of them to attract a bunch of monsters. They happily agree. At the hunting ground, he explains they are to run around attracting all monsters and bring them to him. The knight will help draw attention and block. Then he, with his area healing spell, will kill them all. The scene shifts to the 2 girls running, all battered and desperate. Unsure if he can handle it, they ask if he really can manage all that. He's delighted, thinking it's no wonder she was one of the best in his past life. With that, he casts an ability in the midst of all the creatures and reaches level 10. Now that he's reached this milestone, the damage of the yin-yang ability increases by 50%, and when he reaches level 20, it will increase by 200%. The addicted protagonist's eyes are shining. He turns to the 2 and asks how much they need to reach level 10. Megumin explains she just reached level 9, so it will take at least another 3 hours for her. Jiang says if that's the case, they have no time to lose and need to get back to killing. 3 hours later, they arrive at the dungeon entrance. People around are commenting that no one at the top can defeat it. Even one of the best guilds entered and got wrecked. The knight is impressed by the crowd in front of the dungeon. However, Jiang mentions that few of them are actually level 10. Even the good players are still at level 6. The 2 girls look at each other and think the same thing. They can't leave his side for a moment. The protagonist asks why they're looking at each other and tells them to enter the dungeon. Outside, people are commenting that's the team of the healer on the ranking. They find it impressive that the 3 of them managed to enter the Shadow Realm. Obviously, everyone is envious of him having 2 girls by his side. The only thing they find strange is how the priest is gaining more experience than the knight and the mage, and they are sure that both girls are helping him level up. They enter the ancient Shadow Realm of bronze rank. They walk toward a gate but haven't encountered any creatures yet. The knight asks why there are no monsters there. Jiang ignores her and tells them to stand on the platforms. Megumin notices one is empty and Jiang says of course, telling her to summon a creature to sit on the platform. He knew this would happen, which is why he counted on her ability. She then summons a wild dog and has it stand on the platform to activate it. As soon as the dog steps on the platform, the barrier blocking the passage lowers and several level 10 skeletons are summoned. Each one has a class from archer, knight, and mage to assassin. The knight is impressed, asking if they really have to face all the game's classes. Meanwhile, Megumin is annoyed that her class is represented by a dog on the ground. Jack explains that each skeleton has a class and an ability from that profession. Insecure of the knight says it will be impossible to defeat them. However, Megumin with shining eyes says it won't be. It means the pro player will finish them in seconds. He raises his staff, hitting 460 on all the monsters. And Megumin says she read on a forum that the creatures there have 50% more damage. Only Jiang can defeat them. Our protagonist is confident, thinking it's time to speed things up. The best part is that his abilities cause true damage since they are healing spells. This means he ignores any kind of defense. Suddenly, many messages from players start arriving, saying they will pay a good price for the Blood-Tide sword. There's a competition for the auction in the game's global chat. Guilds are arguing, each offering more than the other. If he sells it, the Dominator Guild will be his friend for life. Jiang realizes that the sword is in higher demand than he expected. They wonder why everyone wants it so much if it's a beginner item. Then he realizes everyone wants it to complete this dungeon he's doing now. So he comes up with a plan to stand still for at least an hour. Once the auction is over and someone has bought the sword, he will finish the dungeon. He continues hunting, dropping various items. With the quality bonus that makes items always better, he knows he'll make a lot of money, as many people seem interested in the items. Even Megumin notices that he must be making good money. But obviously, it's something few people can do. Only possible if you can complete this dungeon alone. With that, they are motivated to keep playing late into the night to not fall too far behind him. He turns and asks what the 2 are whispering about. However, at that moment, elite monsters arrive to face the protagonist. They have an ability that when they receive a fatal blow, makes them invisible and increases their movement speed. Desperate, Megumin tells him to be careful. 2/3 of all people who challenge this place die to these monsters. Jiang agrees they are strong, but with a healing spell hitting 500 it's easy. All he needs to do is cast a power and run, then repeat the process. Once they're all invisible, he runs so they're all at the same distance, and when they attack, he uses the pet's ability to teleport. When they lose invisibility and are together, he uses the area ability to kill them all at once. With the plan well executed, the entire loot drops. This time, he receives a white jade bone shield with several insane stats. The girls continue watching with hearts in their eyes. However, suddenly, something starts shaking and a hand emerges from the ground. This is the boss of the place known as the Ancient Shadow of the Undead of Bronze rank, which has an ability called Mana Burn. It's a laser that targets the farthest person, reducing their mana by 10% every 10 seconds. Not to mention it has a Chaotic Soul ability. Every time the boss loses 10% of its health, it launches an attack on the target that dealt the most damage. The boss says he's the Empire's mage and asks how those ants dare attack him, warning that the punishment for this is the death penalty. Today, Jang realizes he's in a complicated situation. One ability targets those far away. However, the other targets the one who deals the most damage. He knows the situation isn't good, but that item in the boss's hand is very rare and only drops on the boss's first kill, so he needs to get it. He turns to the two girls and tells them the boss is straightforward. He will initiate the attacks and draw the monster at him while they keep attacking. They are skeptical that it would be so simple, especially since the entire server is having difficulties. But given that everything he says works, they decide to believe him. What he wants is for both of them to destroy the enemies, and none of them will get any rest until the boss is dead. The two girls are scared, thinking how immersive the situation is. But to the protagonist, this boss seems like a child trying to be threatening. He says that the script the boss is reading is too boring. However, the boss declares it's time to pay the price and throws a giant energy ball at the protagonist. He dodges it and casts more healing spells. Megumin then summons the wild dog and starts dealing damage. The problem is they deal between 8 to 15 damage, which is much less than John. But he tells them to stay behind him after dealing some damage. This way, they'll both receive the Mana Burn ability. The boss has already lost 10% of its health, so it uses the Chaotic Soul and throws an explosion at the protagonist. He takes 1500 damage and falls dead on the ground. The knight thinks he took a one-hit kill, but Megumin tells her to relax, explaining that if the name is Gray, it's not the real one. What he activated was the illusion boots, which have a 3-minute cooldown. At that moment, he gets a notification saying that the Blood-Tied Sword is being auctioned for 30,000. The protagonist gets excited, thinking now he can play calmly. The auction will end in 20 minutes and he's curious to see how much the other guilds will bid. The scene shifts to the auction with 2 minutes and 32 seconds left. A knight from the Conqueror's Guild is angry. That's because their Team 8 also died to the boss. He realizes the only option to beat the dungeon is by buying the Blood-Tied Sword. A very dense girl says the player who auctioned it didn't contact any guild. The problem is the price is already at 40,000. The leader realizes that whoever it is, they are determined to make the guilds fight for it. Seeing no other option, he continues to increase the bid. The problem is that 40,000 is already several million in real money. In the residence of the guild called Heavenly Court, a guy named Yama is also asking about the auction. Someone tells him it was at 40,000, but now it's reached 55,000. He knows it's a good sword, but it's only level 10. If they keep increasing the bid, they'll end up losing money in the end. However, he is confident that with that sword, they could easily conquer the Shadow Realm. So he says to keep bidding. He doesn't care about the price. He just wants to get it. The bid goes to 56,000, 57,000, 60,000. Confident that with this sword in the Shadow Realm, they will be the first to clear it. The auction ends and he's very happy. But then a notification appears congratulating the protagonist group for being the first to complete that dungeon. The leader realizes someone played a trick on him and orders an investigation into these names immediately. He doesn't care which guild these 3 people belong to. He will deal with those who stole the first clear. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, the protagonist and his friends are calm with the boss lying dead on the ground. They receive a very good title called Pioneers, which increases item drops by 50%. Our boy is confident because this title is perfect to combine with the buff that increases item quality. The girls are also happy because they receive the title. The protagonist then looks at the item he most wanted, the crystal in the boss's hand. It increases intelligence by 20% and gives a double cast bonus. It has a 20% chance to create a double action with skills when they are activated. Moreover, it's an item with growth value. You can add other items to increase its value, and when it reaches the maximum value, the item's rank increases. They also receive a necklace that increases health recovery, as well as a ring that grants attack power, critical chance, and can be used by warriors, assassins, and archers. Once again, he also receives a 3-star sealed skill book. Our boy is happy with the 3 items he received. One will increase his power, and the other will increase his life. Not to mention the crystal orb is perfect since it has a growth effect. With the double skill activation, he could even kill high-level monsters instantly. Additionally, this boss usually drops a book, but thanks to the blessing from the goddess of love, he receives something of better quality. He knows that without the help of the buff and the goddess and the 2 girls, he couldn't have won alone. So he turns to the 2 and tells them he prepared 2 pieces of equipment for each of them. They are bronze rank, but for now, they should be sufficient. They are all happy, thanking him, especially since they did nothing and are still getting good items. They hug each other, but they should be hugging our boy. The protagonist says it's okay. After all, he knows the auction has a limit on the items you can register, so he needs to give some to them and sell the rest. And anything worthless, he will use to raise the level of the crystal orb. With that, he says they're done here, and it's time to return to the main city. Seeing the protagonist group leave, everyone starts saying they need to be revered. It's amazing they won with just 3 people. While most guilds were stuck, these 3 managed to win. But in reality, everyone thinks it was the knight's achievement. They say she is now the rank 1 in the entire country. While everyone tries to talk to her, our boy sneaks away unnoticed, saying he'll meet her later in the beginner village. A while later, he asks them if they have anything to do. They say no, so they are teleported to the city of Julu. Once again, everyone is impressed with the graphics and realism of that city. The protagonist says now the real game begins. They enter a mansion, and he tells them to collect all the monster-killing quests from the NPCs. He mentions he has something to take care of, and they'll meet later. He goes to the treasurer's office and says he's there to run a shop. The guy asks if he wants something inside the mansion or on the streets. He replies, inside the mansion. The guy shows the layouts and floor plans of the shops, asking which one he wants. The protagonist knows that since it's not possible to auction many things, he will need to open a shop to sell the leftover items. Besides, when the girl from the apartment reaches level 10, he will also need a place to sell cosmetics. So he says he wants to buy 6 shops. He is sure that area will become a very important commercial zone. With the money he earned from the sword, he can sustain it for a long time. The guy says that renting all those shops right now will cost 10,000 gold for a year. Our boy doesn't hesitate, and with that, the deal is done. He then goes to find a priest profession mentor to unlock the 3-star skill book. Knocking on the door, a sweet voice tells him to enter. Her name is Evelyn, and she is a very dense instructor who asks how she can help him. Embarrassed, the boy says she is indeed a very powerful healer. She says any dead man would be revived by her. Awkwardly, he says he's there to unlock a skill. Seeing it's a 3-star book, she says he's quite impressive. However, she warns that as amazing as it is, it will cost 50 gold to unlock. For our boy, that's a pittance. So he unlocks it and gains a sacred light field. It summons a 20-meter hexagram where everyone is healed by 100% of his power for 10 seconds. As always, he uses the skill with the yin-yang passive. Now, everyone within the hexagram will lose 200% of his attack power and health per second. Our boy is confident that within this domain he's invincible. With that resolved, it's time to find the 2 girls to start doing missions. Suddenly, he receives a message from the knight asking about an infinite challenge, wondering if she should accept it. The protagonist knows it's a very good mission, so he tells her to accept it. It's a mission where you can choose to earn a lot of experience or many items. However, there's a final option where you can get both, but it's much more difficult. She was going to explain all this to him, but obviously he already knows everything and tells her to accept. In another city, the guy who got outsmarted by the protagonist is furious. Someone arrives and tells him they found the 3 people who stole the first kill of the shadow boss. They say it's a knight, a priest, and a summoner, who are currently in the city of Julu. Despite not being in a guild, they are definitely skilled. However, the leader doesn't care, saying that if they had the courage to steal the first kill, they would have to pay the price. He orders all 300 guild members to go to the city of Julu. They will take turns killing those 3 all night. A servant suggests that this might be too many people just for that, and moving most of the members from another city would be expensive. But the leader insists. They stole the first kill to provoke them, so they need to show what happens. Otherwise, no one in that server will respect them. Back with the protagonist, the system notifies him that he has received the infinite challenge. He needs to challenge the Abyss Rift level 10 of rank A, which is in the Nightmare Forest on the west side of Julu. They must enter and kill all the creatures. However, the infinite challenge cannot be abandoned midway, and if he fails, he will lose all rewards. The worst part is that a rare item will drop. Despite all this, he seems happy and confident. The girls ask if he knows what the reward for that place is. He says the first person to clear that place gets double experience and items, so they should prepare quickly because the challenge is about to start. The scene then shifts to them entering the challenge, and a level 10 demon soldier appears. This time, he will need the knight to withstand some of the attacks. Now well equipped, she is managing to do some of the work. Our boy reminds her not to worry about dealing damage and just keep dodging. Megumin apologizes for being so useless. At the moment, she can neither deal damage nor draw attention. But our protagonist says it's okay since summoners are like that in the beginning. However, when they reach level 20, they become much stronger. But early in the game, it's best for her to just stand still and not cause much trouble. Megumin knows this is true, so she smiles and accepts it. For her, just gaining experience is perfect. More demons arrive, and finally the knight is really contributing to the group. Our boy tells them to stay calm, as this will be easy. He uses the new circle and now is dealing 1120 damage. Meanwhile, in the Dragon's Flight Guild Hall, a guy tells the leader to check a video on the official forum. The leader steps out of the capsule, saying not to bother him while he's playing. But the guy shows a huge group heading to Julu. The leader recognizes it as one of his rivals and wonders why he took the whole guild there. The assistant says it's to deal with the guy who stole the first kill of the shadow boss. Yama was foolish and spent a huge amount of money just to buy a sword that this guy apparently sold. That's why he's seeking revenge. However, the leader says Yama is thinking about it too simplistically. Yama actually wants to use this situation to show they dominate the server. However, as good as that plan is, they can't let all the good things go to this guy. He says it's time for everyone to head to Julu as well. The guy asks if they will cause trouble for Yama. He says no. Instead, they will recruit the people who got the first clear of that dungeon. Meanwhile, in the infinite labyrinth, the protagonist and his friends keep killing creatures. His inventory is so full that he can't pick up any more items. The good thing is that he can keep feeding the orb with useless items. A sword, clothing, or staff gives an additional 10 power. The inventory now only has good items left, and all the trash is being used to level up the orb. Soon enough, the orb reaches 300 of 300 and ranks up for the first time, further increasing intelligence and doubling the chance of activating his skill twice. Even the protagonist thinks about how overpowered this item is becoming. With a 40% chance of double casting, he is practically invincible. However, the knight has drawn a bunch of monsters and warns that she's about to die. Our boy tells her to come closer and quickly finishes them off. The monsters disappear, dropping more items. Even he wonders when it will end. 3 minutes later, he reaches level 12, spends some points, and now everyone is loaded with items to carry. Megumin is happy since she gained a lot of experience too. The system announces that they have finished the rift. They are happy to leave, but he tells them to wait. Confused, they are told it's not over. Suddenly, a crystal spins in the air, and an elite rank 10-winged demon appears. Our boy knows this is the last monster and has a 100% drop rate, so he's sure to get gold rank item. He starts healing the monster, which angrily charges at him. However, he has teleportation, so he easily dodges. 30 seconds later, it's over. The girls are shocked that he defeated it alone in less than a minute. The item dropped is the Demon Blood Battle Armor, which greatly increases defense and constitution, and has a chance to activate a healing effect when attacked. Obviously, it would be great for the knight, but it would hide her strongest attribute. Our boy knows that item is extremely powerful. He receives so much healing that's practically like doubling your health. He also received a blueprint for a dress, which he will give to his friend from the apartment. With everything finished, it's time to return to the city. 30 minutes later, the guys in the city are talking to the leader, asking if the information about the guy being there might be false. The leader says they've searched everywhere, so they must be outside hunting. The plan is to stay at the gate until they return. Finally, it looks like they've arrived. Our boy recognizes them and wonders if they are trying to cause trouble. As he passes, one guy warns him to be careful. The knight asks who they heard that from, and the protagonist asks why Yama is hunting him. However, he knows very well why. It's probably because of the sword he sold to the guy. He then tells the girls to walk around the city and gather information. He will turn in the mission and contact them later. He goes to one of the shops he opened. The bronze items will be sold for at least 20 gold, and the armor will be left in the shop without a price, just to make people envious. While he thinks about the next steps, they contact him, saying that outside there are over 300 people brought in to execute him. It also looks like more than one guild is involved. Our protagonist seems excited about this, saying things are getting interesting. However, if they all came for him as a reward, he will put them all in the grave. It's the perfect time to activate a certain quest and use these players' lives. In the southern part of Julu, there's a guy sleeping and he approaches, calling him the Lord of the city. The Lord asks how he knows who he is. The protagonist says he believes in the guidance of the gods and wants to activate the quest that only starts when the Lord is not in the mansion. The Lord says if that's the case, he will get straight to the point. He says, according to the will of the gods, he will provide guidance for the adventurers who arrived from another world in this city and will release the Lord's request for those who completed the quest. The system then says he activated the limited quest of Julu City. Go to the northern part and obtain the Heart of Flames from the stone beast. Then bring it to the Lord and receive the light of the city's Lord. The more stones brought, the greater the reward. But the quest has a time limit of 3 hours. The Lord says that since he is the first adventurer, he will give him a tip. Do not provoke the King of Flames in the deepest part of the north. The protagonist thanks the Lord while thinking, even though the game has just started, I need to dig this grave here. The mission then appears on the city board for everyone to activate. Now in Area 9, there are level 10 stone beasts where Yama and his group are arriving. He says that there aren't many players yet, so they need to finish this quickly. One of them questions if they should keep provoking the team that stole the first kill. Yama says no, as the mission is more important for now. After they finish here, they can find that player and take him out. The other guy, who was in the auction competition, also appears. Seeing Yama, he asks what he's doing there. Have you given up on hunting the guy who stole the first kill? Yama says that obviously this mission is more important than hunting that team, and asks if the guy is only there to take advantage of the situation. But he replies that Yama should be more concerned with himself, especially since he wasn't the one who spent millions on a sword that's worthless. He reminds Yama that in this place, anyone can drop the most valuable item, so it's best to be careful. The guy who's thinking of hiring the protagonist team arrives and realizes the situation is tense. All the strongest guilds seem to be on the brink of a fight, but it's obvious that a limited quest would create such tension. However, the most important thing right now is to kill as many creatures as possible and get the best rewards. Meanwhile, the protagonist team is deep in the forest. Megumin asks why they are ignoring the other players and heading straight for the center of the forest. She questions if they are not going to do the quest. He explains that the given mission is just an introduction. The real objective is to kill the level 15 boss. The Stone Flame King has just appeared in front of them. Like the wizard, it has special abilities. Every time it loses 10% of its health, it punches the ground, making stones fly everywhere. Each time it kills a target, it recovers a significant portion of health and becomes even stronger. At that moment, the boss introduces itself as the King of Stones and Flames, saying insolent humans should not have awakened it from its slumber. The knight is scared, and Megumin says maybe they won't succeed this time. But our protagonist, Calm, says he'll draw the monster away and run as far as possible. From where the monster came, there's a flame crystal in the center. When he sends a message, she should destroy it. He then casts a healing spell on the creature and declares himself the opponent. The monster leaps out of the hole and jumps at him. As he runs, he tells them to complete the mission he gave them. They then see the crystal he mentioned. Destroying it will weaken the monster for half an hour. As he flees, he receives a message from Megumin saying they found the crystal. He tells her to get ready and then runs past with the boss following him. They were about to curse the protagonist for farming there, but they see the boss and alert everyone in the guild. One of them recognizes the protagonist as the priest they are looking for. But since the boss is a priority, they decide to wait until the leader arrives. Observing the situation, the protagonist thinks he has created the perfect scene. All he has to do now is motivate them. He sends a message for Megumin to destroy the crystal. The beast freezes and weakens. Everyone feels confident, imagining that when the leader arrives, it will easily get the first kill. Yama then receives a message saying they found the level 15 creature and need support. He orders everyone to stop what they are doing and head straight for the boss. The surrounding players notice Yama's guild moving. He is sure something is happening and decides to follow to see what it is. Seeing two guilds leaving, the others decide to follow as well. Now everyone is running together. In front of the boss, people wonder how long it will take. Unfortunately, they know they won't be able to hold it for long. A chubby guy says he doesn't know, but many people are coming. The biggest problem is that the boss's health is dropping. Looking back, they say reinforcements are coming, but there are more people than expected. Yama arrives and tells the allied guilds to help kill all the other solo players. Everyone realizes that all the main guilds have sent people to watch. Anyone who tries anything will surely be killed. Yama says he has organized with the other guilds. Just be ready with the skill to deliver the final blow. However, more people from another guild arrive. Everyone recognizes them as the leaders of the region. They suggest sharing the rewards and attacking together. The solo players agree, wanting to participate too. They say Yama's guild can't monopolize it. Yama realizes the guy is trying to cause trouble. His white-haired friend asks what they will do. With no choice, he raises his sword and says they will have to leave a like on this video to help Mamoru make more juicy content for viewers. Part 2 is on the way to activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.